There are literally thousands of swing faults that if you start thinking about them, they're gonna drive you crazy. But what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna share with you 3 of them. Yes, 3 that I guarantee are probably the root cause of causing all the other ones. We're gonna help you play better golf. I'm PGA teaching professional Todd Kolb, Director of Instruction for US Golf TV and the Sanford Power Golf Academy. And let's be honest, I love the KISS model, the KISS method, whatever you wanna call it. Keep it simple, right? You know the last part of that, right? And that's what we got to do here today, because I see you out there, I hear you, you're confused. This game can drive you crazy, and most instruction and people are telling you that it just adds confusion. So let's talk about it. Number 1, we're going to talk about the setup. The most common fault that I see people make in the setup. We're going to talk about the takeaway. What's the one thing that they do in the takeaway? All right, I'm going to give you a drill for each one of these so you know how to fix it. And then my favorite one, okay, my favorite one is impact. The most important part of the golf swing for a lot of us, that's what they would say. All right, so here we go. Let's dive into it. The first mistake, the first fault that I see people make in the setup is they set themselves up for a slice or a high right shot if they're right-handed golfer. Now, how do they do that? First thing they do is they get the ball too far forward in the stance. When the ball is very forward in the stance, okay, the trail side, for me, the right side gets high and above. So as the ball goes forward, the right shoulder goes high and goes out, the trail shoulder, the hip goes out, and before you know it, you're set up like this. Now when you're set up like this, okay, now I hit that ball even relatively solid. Look at my finish. Didn't look natural at all, did it? Certainly didn't feel natural, but also if you watch down the line, the swing kind of worked out and across. So the first thing you got to think about, the first fault that I see, is as simple as the setup. All right, now on the opposite side, think about this opposite side. If they had the ball too far back, then the opposite. The lead shoulder starts to get closed, the hip gets this way, all right, and before you know it, you're swinging low and around. Okay, so where should you be? How do you find it? Well, let's talk about it. Here we go. All right, that's why I love teaching golf. Keep it simple, all right? Keep it simple. That's the whole thing we want. So the first thing you're gonna do is put your feet together. Put your feet together, take the club and position it so it's pointing at your belt buckle. All right? Take your lead foot. I got a 7-iron right here. Okay, it'll be a little different with the driver. We've done tips on driver. Check those out, and wedges. We've done all those. Check them out if you want to know the setup. But here we go. I'm going to take a little step towards the target and a little step back. Club's pointing at my belt buckle, and then just make sure that your trail side, your right arm, is tucked underneath. So see that down the line there? See how my lead arm is just a little bit higher than my trail arm? And the last thing is make sure you got a little bit of weight forward. So I'm 60-40. Boom, solid contact, nice straight ball flight. So that's the first tip. The first fault, the easy way to fix it has to do with the setup. Now, let's talk about the takeaway. Because there are times where I start coaching, I look at a student, I'm like, man, that's a pretty solid setup. They got that pretty good, but they're not hitting good golf shots. So the first place I look, the first place you want to look is the takeaway. So here's what I see. They're set up pretty good, right? Maybe they've watched some of our videos, maybe they've taken some lessons, maybe they're, you know, but the first move that they make for amateur golfers typically is they drag the club inside. See that? See where that club went? Boom. Inside. Now when the club gets inside and stuck and behind them, boom, like that, like, ooh, okay, that made me nervous. It was high and right. I don't know if you could see that. It was really close to the inside of the club. That was about 1 millimeter from the S word. You know what I'm talking about, right? Dangerous, dangerous shot if you're standing to the right side, okay? So, what should it be doing, and more importantly, how do you check that? Well, let me show you. So here we go. I'm set up here. Where I want it to be is when you swing that back, okay, I want the club head, see that right there? I want the club head to be in line with your hands, or ever so slightly what we call outside the hands. This would be outside, this would be inside. Okay, now, there are people who have swung it inside and have been good players. I don't recommend it. I think it's hard to repeat, but you want the club to be a little bit outside your hands like that. See that? Okay, now, the other thing you got to be aware of is the club face. I want the club face to be square. See how it goes back right there? So this leading edge right here is at about a 45-degree angle. You see that? All right, let's say that's 90. Let's say that's 0, 45 degree. Okay, so here we go. And then I'm going to show you a checkpoint for you to do. All right, so here we go. I got my setup. Little rehearsal, there it is, bingo. Okay, pretty good. Now I hit that a little bit chunky. Could you see that? Hear that? I hit a little chunky. We're going to talk about that impact position next, because that could be why I chunked it. Now, here's your checkpoint. When you swing the club, or here's what I want you to do. When you swing the club away from the golf ball, make sure that the butt end of the club, see it right here? This is the butt end, club head, butt end, club head. Make sure that the butt end of the club moves away from the target initially in the takeaway. All right, so it looks like this. Here we go. Watch this close. Watch the butt end. When I do the takeaway, I want that to move away from target. See that? There's your fix. Boom. When I do that, notice where that club gets. What would the opposite be? Well, that would be the fault. It goes the other way. See that? Now, I got to tell you this. I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but we did a video years ago that really put us on the map. It was called The 3 Chipping Mistakes. If you haven't seen it, you got to go check it out. I don't know what it's up to. I'd have to ask my man Nick behind the camera there. It's up like over 4 million views. It's insane. And that was the one tip that put US Golf TV on the map. That's probably why you're here. So thank you for joining it. But that particular right there is going to help you play better golf. All right, so those are the first two. Let's talk about the impact position. All right, and I got to tell you to join the channel here, hit the subscribe button, right? Ring the bell, okay? Otherwise, my guys are going to get mad at me for not mentioning it. Please do that. Also, leave a comment, because I love hearing from you. Or what are some other faults that you have that you'd like to see me help you fix? Put those in the comments and I'll do my best to do that. All right, the last one is impact position. All right, here's what I see most golfers do. When they get into impact, they finish with their weight on their trail foot. Let me demonstrate. Good setup, good takeaway, because they're moving the butt end of the club, but their weight stays on their back foot, and they top it, slice it, do all types of stuff. You see that? Is this a familiar position for you? It probably is, especially for my older golfers out there, my experienced golfers. You know who you are, right? You know who you are. Now, what should it be? Well, let me show you what it should be, and let me show you how you can fix it. Here we go. When we finish, it should be forward. See that? Boom, right there. I'm forward, imbalance, weight on my lead foot. Now, why is that important? When the weight shifts forward, at impact, you want the vast majority of your weight on your lead foot. Because what that does is it moves the bottom of the swing forward and improves contact. If your weight stays on your back foot, you'll be prone to hitting the ground behind the ball. Okay? So the question is, how do I practice that? Well, I've given you tips on the setup. I gave you a nice little tip on the takeaway. Here's what you're going to do to get your impact position. You're going to do this simple drill where you're going to take your regular setup, then you're going to take your lead foot, you're going to bring it back to your trail foot. Reposition the club back, swing it up, and as you start to swing forward, step forward. So let me do it from beginning to end, and then we're going to do it with the ball. So set up, trail foot back, swing it up, forward. Now, you can just go ahead and hit a shot, or if you're feeling like you got it going, all right, you can do that with the ball. So here we go, set up, lead foot back, rebalance, swing it up, step forward. That right there will fix it for you every single time. So hey, remember the KISS model. Keep it simple. You know what I'm talking about. These 3 drills, these 3 concepts will help you do just that.